Hello, Namaste, and Hare Krishna. I am Namita Purohit. I'm a leadership and life coach, and I welcome you to the HealStrong podcast, where I talk about helping you and serving you in recognizing narcissistic traits and in beginning your journey of making a full recovery from toxic narcissistic abuse. This podcast is sponsored by the HealStrong Program, which is complete with courses, coaching, and community built by me and my team, where many people who join that program have made amazing transformations in healing their lives, healing their emotions, feeling strong and centered again in themselves, and able to stand up to the narcissist, and not just stand up to the narcissist, but also thrive very wonderfully in their lives. And I am doing a series on narcissism in different relationships. So if you want to know when the next video is on either narcissism in different relationships or the Heal Strong podcast, and I also talk about other things. I talk about life, I talk about leadership, I talk about emotional wellness and healing, all based on Eastern wisdom and Western psychology. And if you're interested in those topics and interested in knowing when the next video is on in this series, then I invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel and also enable the notifications so that you're notified about the next video, and also like, share, and subscribe, to the channel, and also share this video with others if you have benefited from it. And today we're going to talk about narcissistic gurus. How do you recognize the traits of narcissistic gurus? Because there are many charismatic spiritual leaders who are not spiritual, but they're very narcissistic, and they're in it to get their narcissistic supply. So I'm trying to explain to you that, because I've been doing on narcissistic father, mother, and wife, husband, and all these different relationships. And I also thought that guru is a very central piece in people's life, especially those who are following spirituality. And it's important that you learn how to recognize the traits. And for that, I also have a free downloadable for you, a free guide that you can download to understand the 15 traits of narcissists and how they are impacting you. So it's like questions with some journal prompts where you can write things down and introspect and understand the impact all of that is having on you. So yeah, you could download that, and the link is also there in the description below, and I'm sure it's going to flash somewhere on the screen here. Uh, Next up is, sorry, where were we? Yes, is let's talk about these narcissistic gurus. And the best way for a narcissist, narcissists are craving attention. Narcissists don't have any sense of self-worth within themselves. They're looking for everything from the outside, right? We all look for validation from the outside, but in the case of the narcissist, that's the only thing, that's their oxygen, and that's the only thing that they survive on, and that's the only thing that they thrive on. Yes, and they're always looking to accumulate followers, whether they're in a party, whether they're in a, you've invited people over at your home. They won't let you talk. They'll walk ahead of you so that, they get all the supply that they need. And they're constantly charming people, manipulating people, etc., so that they can build those followers, right? Now, the best way to get those followers and to get high quality narcissistic supply that would never leave you and that would hold you up on a pedestal and worship you is to become a false guru, a guru or a spiritual leader. And you get the name, you get the fame, you get the followers, you get the power, you get the worship. It's like amazing. It's like Disneyland for a narcissist. It's like so much fun. It's just everything is so fully aligned to what they want to do. Except that you shouldn't be thinking about yourself when you're a guru or a spiritual leader. You're always thinking about how can I serve these people. But narcissists end up in those positions. They charm their way in those positions, and they're able to exploit the vulnerable and also exploit the covert narcissists. And we'll talk about that soon. Now, how do they show up? How do they get that position? How do they come to, get those followers, etc.? They know how to show deep interest in people. Yes, they'll know your name. They'll greet you next time they see you. They'll answer your questions. They'll make those eye contacts and those special smiles. You know, I mean, good gurus do that too, but narcissists do this even, in a very, very amazing way. And they're great at following the externals of spirituality. They'll be showing up in the morning artis, they'll be showing up, doing all the different rituals that need to be done. They'll dress up perfectly. They'll do all those externals really well, right? They'll be emoting so much in those artis. They'll be having tears dropping their eyes as they're talking about, the pastimes of the Lord, or they're, talking about spiritual things, or when they're hearing your story and things like that. And they'll be wowing you through their knowledge of scriptures, right? Just because somebody knows scriptures really well doesn't mean that they're a guru. Yes, it's about how are they following it in their life, right? Now and scriptures can be learned very technically also. So they're very good at tying things together. They're very charismatic. They're very charming, and they know how to attract you, right? So they're very charismatic speakers. So that's how they show up, and that's how a lot of people get hooked. Now, who gets hooked? Usually, people with a sense of self, a strong sense of self, and a strong sense of identity, while they may be sincere in their spiritual life and they would surrender to these gurus initially, but over a period of time, just by virtue of the fact that they have, a strong sense of self and an identity, they're able to see through all of that. They're able to see through that exploitation, that gaslighting, that keeping you dependent and things like that, and they're able to walk away. Now, who remains? Who gets hooked? Are those who are with a low self-esteem and who are looking for somebody to tell them what's right, to give them direction, to lead them, etc. And they think that's what the guru is supposed to do for them. Those who are feeling lonely and they're looking for connection, right? Those people get hooked into such gurus. Then those who are extremely sincere, they get stuck in those things also. But because they're so sincere, the Lord protects them. And also covert, low-functioning narcissists who want the same things as that Godfather spiritual narcissistic guru. They want all the same things, but they can't do it overtly, so they remain covert. They're low functioning narcissists. This one is like a very high functioning narcissist, the narcissistic guru. And these low functioning narcissists are looking for supply. They latch on to the high functioning narcissist. The high functioning narcissist keeps them around because they know what their need is and exploits them in fulfilling what they want. And the low functioning narcissist very happily does that because they're getting the attention, they're getting the name and fame through proxy, through being part of that whole coterie and circle. Yes? So this is who gets hooked. And how do they exploit you? How do these gurus exploit you? It's basically use and throw. Once you are hooked in, and once they have you in, they're not going to acknowledge you. They're not going to take care of you. But they will use your time in volunteering services and furthering their agenda. And they'll also use your resources, huge donations, etc. Because you're like, you don't have a strong sense of self. You're not very strongly connected to your own root family, your own root culture, and things like that. So you get easily trapped, right? And they're going to exploit you with all of that. They're going to abuse your humility, tolerance, and forgiveness. And I remember saying this one time to a narcissistic leader, spiritual leader, and I said that we're trying to follow a certain culture in how we behave in our spiritual circles, right? But that doesn't mean that that culture that we're trying to follow of humility, of forgiveness, of tolerance should be abused by you as a spiritual leader. Yes. So they do that because now you've learned these things that you must be humble, you shouldn't judge people, you shouldn't criticize people, you should just tolerate because it's better to suffer than to protest. And tolerance is the hallmark of a devotee, and you should forgive everyone and allow them to, and have no boundaries and allow them to come and violate you over and over again. That's what, we end up misunderstanding. But then we're trying to follow some values, and these people very well know you're trying to follow those values, and they abuse you. Uh, for the spiritual values, through the spiritual values that you're trying to follow in your life. They also gaslight you through scriptures, right? So if you're asked a question or you're trying to, like, they're say probably asking you for a heavy donation, and you're like, yeah, I need to talk to my wife or I need to talk to my husband before I do that. And then you're like, no, you're a man and you should be able to take decisions. The wife's supposed to follow you, or this wealth is not yours. You're not the proprietor. All of this wealth needs to be given away in the service of the Lord, and things like that. So there's going to be a lot of gaslighting, and because you don't have a strong footing in spirituality yourself, you don't have a strong character, as in a strong identity, your own self. You're very disconnected from your own roots, from your own personality. You end up getting gaslighted, and you start believing that, and you're like, oh, this is my guru saying this to me and I must listen, right? So many ways in which they gaslight you through scriptures. Another thing that happens is that they keep you emotionally dependent on them, right? The hallmark of a good leader, of a guru, of a coach, of a mentor, is that they don't let you stay dependent on them. They empower you to be independent in your thinking, in your life, in how you lead your life, and the decisions you take, and things like that, right? They empower you to be able to do that. And that's what a good spiritual master, a good spiritual leader, a good coach, a good leader in general is going to help you come to. But these people, they keep you emotionally dependent on them, right? So the more they gaslight you, the more they abuse your humility, tolerance, and forgiveness, the more they keep you confused, and the less and less empowered you get, the better it is for them, because you remain constant supply. The weaker, and they keep making you weaker and weaker and weaker, where you lose all sense of agency. And the more you do that, the more you're dependent on them, and the more they keep getting their supply, and the more their power, and the more you keep donating to them, and doing all of that, and that just helps them more and more, right? And this is how they exploit you. And what does it do to you? You become very confused initially about reality. You're like, this is not making sense, but this is my guru. This is a person who's like, chanting so nicely, who's, showing up for all the tough austerities, who's speaking scriptures in such a wonderful way, and so on. And you just become very confused because you want to trust that person more over your own self. Another thing that can happen is that a lot of extreme rage, suppressed or expressed, right? Now, once you see through all of this, and a lot of times it's going to have impact on your family life. It's going to probably break things apart. It's going to break your children. You'll probably lose your job because you got overcommitted over there because of all the gaslighting and everything that you were vulnerable to. And then once you see through all of that, you experience extreme rage. And as you're experiencing extreme rage, um, you are also feeling guilty inside that, oh, I am following spirituality. This is my karma. I should not feel angry. I should forgive everyone. This is everything is happening, and I should not be upset with the instrument of my karma and things like that. But you're angry. You're angry with them for misusing the position of a spiritual master, guru. You're angry with yourself for being so gullible and things like that. And then because of that rage, you also end up losing faith in spirituality. Because you are with so much rage, and you're going back to the spiritual circles to get help, but they're like, no, you're thinking wrong. You shouldn't think like that about your guru. You're so offensive and things like that. There are no tools given to you, and you don't know how to deal with all of that. And then the more your needs are not met as a human being, and the more you realize how badly you were exposed, you start losing faith in spirituality. A lot of people just completely stop going, associating, following the practices and things like that. And there's a lot of broken trust, your trust, and you're just unable to trust anyone, any guru, any spiritual organization ever again in your life. And that's what it does to you. Now, what should you do when you are in such a situation? Is the first lesson is to learn how to believe in your own self, right? Believe in your truth. Learn how to acknowledge your gut. Listen to what your gut is telling you. A lot of times we ignore it, thinking that somebody else is giving us, is more elevated and is a bigger well-wisher of us than our own gut. And we end up transferring the trust over there and from ourselves to those people, right? Now, the first thing is you want to believe in your truth. Start learning to acknowledge and recognize what your gut is telling you and acting on it. Yes. So believe in your truth. Another thing is recognize and work on your vulnerabilities. It takes, very sadly, you're a great person, you're a great human being, and you never had experience of, manipulative people, toxic, narcissistic people. So there was no way in which you could even imagine that, this is what's happening to you. That's one thing. The second thing is you also have a lot of vulnerabilities. where, as I mentioned, some of them, we have low self-esteem, disconnected from our roots. We don't have a strong sense of self. We're not self-partnered. We think we're not good enough. We think we're not worthy of love and respect. We think, uh, you know, uh, somebody else should make me happy, or somebody else should carry me, and things like that. Some, like, I don't know which one you have, but these are generally the vulnerabilities that we address in the Heal Strong program through the peel stage. So we have a 5-step program. It's reveal, which is understanding the traits in the specific relationship you're in, understanding the toxic narcissistic traits. The second is peel, where you understand your own vulnerabilities. The third is heal, and in the heal stage, you learn how to heal your vulnerabilities, heal yourself from the abuse and trauma, heal yourself of the anger that you have towards yourself, and overcome these vulnerabilities that you identified at the peel stage. And you also heal at 4 different levels, like rather 5 different levels, at the physical level, because that's what the abuse does to you. You can fall really sick at the energy, the chakra level, and the thought level, because a lot of these things, our thoughts are sitting as energy in your body that need to be released in a very systematic, guided way through coaching. And the next thing is, at the intellectual, mental level, which is a lot of these beliefs that you have that need to be removed. And the energy of those beliefs sitting in your body needs to be removed and replaced by fresh energy and fresh beliefs that serve you in your highest good. And then at the intellectual level and spiritual level. So you're getting a holistic program with the Heal Strong program, and that's what you want to do with the 5-step Heal Strong program, is that going to help you recognize and work on your vulnerabilities, because this is not the only narcissist you had in your life. You also, it's not just one narcissist in your life, because of our vulnerabilities, and because of our naivety in one way, we end up attracting a lot of narcissists in our life. And therefore, I'm doing this series on narcissists in different relationships. And you must subscribe to this channel to get the update of the next video that's coming soon. And I invite you to download your free guide of 15 traits of narcissists and how they impact you. It will help you identify a lot of these different traits that you may be seeing in some narcissistic spiritual leaders. And that guide was going to give you a lot of validation for what you're experiencing. Because the thing with narcissists is that they're so good at masking. They can, be really terribly toxic and narcissistic for a few days, and then they can be suddenly like really amazing and good people. So that makes you feel confused, and that makes you question your own memory and your reality. Like, oh, did this really happen? Yes. So this is what the free downloadable guide helps you, and it gives you confidence in identifying some of these traits, right? And the next thing is subscribe to my channel, and so that you get the notification for the next video. And I hope this video was helpful to you. I'd love to hear from you in the comments about have you had experience with narcissistic spiritual leaders? How did that land for you, and how did you come up, and how did that come out of it? How did that affect you? And any support that you need from us. I've also done a video on, is your partner a spiritual narcissist? And I thank you for those of you who are in spiritual circles and trying to follow a path in spirituality. Some of you may have narcissistic partners who are also spiritual. Now, how do you identify that, and how do you work around that? You could also watch that video that is linked in the description below.